Welcome back to the minisode. I'm so excited to have a guest today for my conversation, and I will start off by having MK tell us who you are and what you do in the events industry.
Thanks for having me. So my name is MK Granados. I'm based in Stamford, Connecticut. I work with Informa Markets. I'm a director of sponsorship working across a number of different events that Informa Markets puts on in North America across construction, engineering, fashion, licensing, health and nutrition. So I work with a large number of trade shows on really optimizing their sponsorship offerings, their sales strategies, growing partnerships, and how brands activate at their events.
Amazing. And today we're here talking about education. So I was so excited when you brought this topic to me because we kind of have a similar education background, and so I think it's always interesting to talk about it, see what people like feel now that they've done it, right? And so I know you have your MBA. I did my MBA a few years ago. It kind of became a COVID project. It did not start as a COVID project, but became a COVID project as I only did one course before everything shut down, and then all of a sudden had a lot more free time. So, yeah. So why don't you start by telling us, like, why did you decide to do your MBA?
Yeah, I think this is a great topic because a lot of young professionals have been asking me about it a little bit and when in their career journey is it worth it and stuff, and it's so personal. For you, it was kind of a pre-COVID starter. For me, it was 100% a COVID response.
Okay.
So from March, my first travel getting canceled and the repercussions starting to set in. In June, I signed up for one of UConn's courses, and I aced it, but it was marketing. So it was a little bit biased
Right.
towards something I naturally wanted to channel my energy into. And I decided to apply to a couple of programs, and my whole these like application process was I never want to feel this precarious in my career again.
Mm.
I love the events industry. I love hospitality. I've worked in casinos, and my undergrad was in theater management, and overnight I watched almost everyone in my network shut down, from Broadway shows to casinos and everything. And I just said, events can't go back to the way they are, and I want to be a leader in the event space after, but also I want to understand adjacencies and places my career can go. So I just knew that if my travel was going to cease, there was never going to be a better time in my career to make time for a classroom. And it worked out really well timing wise.
Yeah, I ended up taking like extra courses because I was not traveling, and so I could kind of make those adjustments and finish like a couple months earlier than I
Yeah.
did. And for me it was, and I've talked about this on LinkedIn, but I was originally looking for a program in like social responsibility, like corporate social responsibility. I wasn't actually looking to do my MBA. And for years it said I wasn't going to do it. And then it just like when I was Googling, it just kept leading me back. And I'm like, well, I guess that's what we're doing, right?
A little bit at organizational psychology and things like that. And then I realized that my head count would have to sit in HR. And that
Mm-hmm.
wasn't kind of a move I was ready to make. Like, that was a big change. But I loved psychology of it or the motivation of people. And in the end, that all circled back to live events anyway, in its own way.
Yeah, for sure. And so when people are asking you, like, what is your advice to them when they're looking at an MBA program or any kind of like post secondary education? Maybe they finished their undergrad or their college program right after high school. And what would you say to someone maybe early in their career or maybe like that 10 years out? Like, what are the benefits and what are the drawbacks to going back to school?
Yeah, I believe strongly in having at least a few years of professional experience under your belt. All of it will make more sense and be more relatable. Going straight out of undergrad into an MBA program feels like a missed opportunity to me. My program was an online program. I went through the University of North Carolina, so my undergrad was Ithaca College. I think 6,000 students, really small community, dedicated alumni, but the reach only so big. So I picked large format, public university, bigger alumni network to complement and stuff. I found that in that online program, I was the average age of starting, which I want to say 33. I was right in that sweet spot of 10 years out plus professional experience, and what we get out of it. And the conversations were brilliant, and people bringing together all their different industries as examples.
Mm-hmm.
I had a friend who worked for JB Hunt, and talked about the innovation and changes coming in the trucking industry and what automation is going to do that. And there was stuff that had never meant anything to me, but for sure is going to relate to events in the next 10, 15 years.
Right.
So I really appreciated it, and I needed that validation. I needed that push in my career. It's been so long since I'd put on a cap and gown and really felt proud of myself and had done hard things. And the other piece of it was I was only conditionally approved into my program because I didn't have a really strong quantitative background, which is probably one of the biggest barriers that I think a lot of people see, especially if they're coming from creative spaces. And so they told me, they were like, okay, usually incoming students, that cohort is going to take 2 classes at the same time, statistical analytical tools and marketing. And they said, because you don't have a quantitative background, we're not going to let you take marketing at the same time, because we know which homework you're going to do first and where you're going to channel your energy. Let's focus on just one thing. And I have never felt more proud of myself. I scored above average on all the tests, above the curve, all of this. Right. And it validated me so much, even from just the first course. So I know I've sort of derailed from your question stuff, but it really was a milestone for me to challenge myself at that 10-year out from college point and really start to zoom out and think strategically, changing the whole process from being a doer to being a leader, and acknowledging that as a milestone, really pushing it along.
Yeah, and I think like I had a friend who did his MBA like right after undergrad and really struggled in the beginning with having like this graduate degree but not really being recognized for it. And I said to him, I'm like, you kind of have it a little too early. I'm like, in 10 years, like it's going to be great that you have it, but you kind of like you got it out of the way, which is great, but you're not really going to see the benefit of it for a little bit, because it's just you need that work experience too. And like now obviously very successful, but it just like it doesn't kind of help you out that early if you don't have the work experience to go along with it, right? Yeah. And people will just think that you just have paper business knowledge, right?
Exactly. Like no context for the theory. And when you're surrounded by professionals 10, 20, 30 years older than you, are they ready to receive that suggestion from you without life experience to back it up and things? Yeah, it's for sure. You're sitting next to people who are probably interns fresh out of undergrad.
Yeah.
And do you really have that much of an edge at that point? Yeah.
For sure. And who do you think or why would you caution someone not to do it? Or like, who is it not right for? Or what is it that someone might be looking for that they're not going to find in the MBA?
Yeah. So first of all, when you reach that point in your life with family and other commitments, I definitely watched a lot of classmates struggle. So I hadn't gotten married yet and didn't have kids and all of those things. So I was throwing myself into classwork 1,000%. And I definitely watched my colleagues who had to balance, or cohort who had to balance more, really struggle. So really knowing your support system, and if putting your head down for 18 months, 2 years, whatever the program is, you got to be ready for that. I think the first kind of assessment they took of our class, we were the largest class coming in September of 2020, and there was sort of 3 paths. They had, you love your job, you want to go up the ladder there, you want to find an adjacency, or you want to leave your company and build a new. And career changers and switchers were some of the ones who probably were the most frustrated. Those who said, okay, I'm going to flip a switch, I'm going to go into consulting, and didn't necessarily have the network. They're using the career center, they're using all the resources they have, but that's a huge undertaking, and just getting the piece of paper isn't going to change the trajectory of your career. So I think it's a natural way to develop if you know where you want to go. If you're going into it super exploratory, maybe pause and do a little bit more research. Look at the alumni network you're getting. Look at the areas of focus. I do want entrepreneurship, or I do want marketing, or I do want M&A or real estate, or all those different things. Those that came in a little less clear of purpose struggled.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Well, thank you so much for this chat. This was really beneficial. I think it is something that has benefited my career, but it's not going to be that light switch, right? It's not going to be that, you all of a sudden put the letters after your name and everything changes, right? It's this gradual progression of once people know you, once people know you're capable, the letters just kind of back it up. I always say, like, it kind of is proving what you already know for the most part, right? So thanks so much for sharing your insights. If people have questions about your experience and want to know more, where can they find you?
Sure, I'm on LinkedIn. That's a great place to find me, where I have a newsletter and post a lot of different random ideas and inspiration. I hope that my confidence that the MBA gave me shines through, right? That is the reason I've become a louder voice on LinkedIn and why I'm so excited to share things with people, because I learned I have a unique perspective. But also, I can be reached at Informa, mk.granados@informa.com, and I'm happy to help anyone.
Amazing. Thanks so much.